Fear is the oldest weapon. Have you ever wondered why fear still rules us even in the age of reason? Fear is not just an emotion, it is the primal tool that shaped human history, a silent weapon wielded long before kingdoms rose and armies marched. From the dawn of consciousness, fear has been the architect of control, the invisible hand guiding minds into submission. It is a shadow older than memory, rooted deep in our collective survival instinct. Philosophers like Michel Foucault explored this in his concept of power, revealing that domination rarely comes through force alone. Instead, power thrives by cultivating fear, fear of the unknown, fear of exile, fear of death itself. As Foucault wrote in Discipline and Punish, "Where there is power, there is resistance, but power's true mastery lies in preempting that resistance through fear." The ancient Greek tragedian Aeschylus once said, "In war, truth is the first casualty." Fear is no different. It masks truth beneath layers of control and obedience. And yet, in the quiet moments before sleep, when the mind wanders through shadows of memory, we realize the cruelest truth. The fear we feel is often not born of real threat, but carefully planted, an echo of a weapon passed down through millennia. You are still its target. Even now, as you close your eyes, fear whispers the oldest lie. You are not safe. Obedience was engineered, not earned. If fear is the oldest weapon, then obedience is its most loyal servant, crafted not by respect, but by design. Humans did not naturally surrender their will. Rather, obedience was meticulously engineered through rituals, laws, and stories that tethered minds to invisible chains. It is a manufactured submission, born not from trust, but from the calculated exploitation of vulnerability. Philosopher Hannah Arendt's chilling analysis of the banality of evil reveals how ordinary people become cogs in oppressive systems simply by obeying orders without question. In Eichmann in Jerusalem, she writes, "The sad truth is that most evil is done by people who never make up their minds to be good or evil." Obedience, then, is not a moral choice, it is a conditioned response. Even the ancient Stoics understood this tension. Epictetus taught that true freedom comes from mastering one's will, not from external control. Yet, through history, obedience has often been the price paid for safety, the illusion of order bought with surrender. And as you drift deeper into sleep, consider this unsettling truth. The obedience you carry today was not your own decision. It was silently programmed, step by step, in ways you might never fully remember. Are you truly free, or just following a path carved by someone else's fear? Confusion is control's first step. When obedience is the weapon, confusion is the shield that guards it. Power does not seek clarity, it thrives in chaos. By clouding truth and blurring lines, confusion disorients the mind, making it easier to bend, easier to break. History shows us that those who sow doubt control the narrative, and through that control, they shape reality itself. Philosopher Søren Kierkegaard warned of this spiritual disorientation, calling it the sickness unto death. He described how despair arises not merely from suffering, but from losing oneself in the fog of uncertainty. Confusion is more than ignorance. It is the slow erasure of certainty, the quiet theft of identity. The writer T.S. Eliot captured this haunting state in The Hollow Men. This is the way the world ends, not with a bang but a whimper. And so, as your thoughts begin to slow and blend into dreams, reflect on this. Confusion was never accidental. It is the calculated opening move in the game of control, designed to leave you vulnerable, uncertain, and unknowingly compliant. What if the chaos in your mind is not your own? Isolation breaks. More than bodies. Confusion clouds the mind, but isolation shatters the soul. Throughout history, those who sought control understood that separating a person from their community is to weaken their very existence. Isolation is a slow fracture, a methodical erasure of connection that leaves the mind vulnerable and desperate. Alone, the self begins to unravel, stripped of the mirrors that reflect truth and belonging. Philosopher Jean-Paul Sartre believed that hell is other people. Yet ironically, he also knew that without others, we cease to be fully ourselves. In Being and Nothingness, Sartre showed that our identity depends on being seen, acknowledged. Isolation is the cruel paradox. It kills not just the body, but the being. As the poet Emily Dickinson once whispered, the soul selects her own society. But what happens when the soul is left without choice? As you surrender to sleep's embrace, ponder this grim reality. Isolation is not merely loneliness. It is a weapon designed to break your mind and rewrite your very sense of self. Have you ever truly been alone, or were you always in captivity? 5. Silence is a loud threat. In the absence of noise, silence screams the loudest. Silence is not peace. It is a tool wielded by those who seek to unsettle, to dominate. The quiet isn't empty. It is filled with waiting, watching, and judgment. It is the void where fear festers, where the mind is forced to listen to its darkest thoughts without refuge. Philosopher Ludwig Wittgenstein taught us that, whereof one cannot speak, thereof one must be silent. But this silence can be suffocating, a void that traps us in endless reflection and doubt. The threat in silence is not just absence, it is presence, heavy and oppressive, demanding submission without a word. As the poet Rainer Maria Rilke warned, "Let everything happen to you, beauty and terror. Just keep going. No feeling is final." Yet silence forces us to confront feelings we often bury: loneliness, fear, despair. As you drift deeper into the quiet, ask yourself, what does the silence in your life truly say? Is it a sanctuary or a cage? 6. Guilt can rewrite memory. Have you ever noticed how guilt doesn't just haunt the present? It reshapes the past. Guilt is not merely a feeling. It is a relentless editor of memory, bending facts until they serve the narrative of shame. What once was clear becomes blurred, and the self is recast as a villain in its own story. This psychological distortion is a silent torment, erasing innocence and planting seeds of self-loathing deep within. Philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche explored this in On the Genealogy of Morality, revealing how guilt is a tool crafted by society to control the individual's conscience. He wrote, "The greatest event of recent times, that God is dead, brings with it a profound crisis of morality, where guilt becomes internalized as punishment." The writer Franz Kafka captured this torment perfectly. In the fight between you and the world, back the world. Guilt convinces you to betray yourself, rewriting your memories until the world's judgment becomes your own. As your mind slips toward rest, consider this unsettling truth. The memories you hold may no longer be yours. They could be the prison walls built by guilt's rewriting pen. Are you the author of your past, or just its prisoner? Desire is a silent prison. What if the very things you crave are the bars that cage you? Desire, often seen as the fuel of life, can also be its invisible shackles. It binds the mind to endless longing, a ceaseless hunger that never truly satisfies. This restless yearning traps you in a cycle of pursuit and disappointment, a psychological prison disguised as freedom. Philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer viewed desire as the root of suffering, writing in the world as will and representation. A man can do what he wants, but not want what he wants. Desire controls the will, turning us into captives of our own cravings. Buddhist teachings echo this, teaching that attachment to desire fuels dukkha, the fundamental suffering of existence. Liberation comes not through indulgence, but through understanding and release. As your thoughts begin to slow, ask yourself, are you chasing your desires, or are your desires chasing you? In the stillness before sleep, realize this: the freedom you seek may lie not in getting what you want, but in wanting less. 8. Memory is a betrayer in the dark. What if the memories you trust are the ones deceiving you most? Memory, our supposed anchor to the past, is far from faithful. It bends, fractures, and erases, often rewriting history to protect or punish the self. In the quiet darkness of night, those shifting recollections can become ghosts that haunt more than comfort. Psychologist Friedrich Bartlett demonstrated that memory is reconstructive, not reproductive. It changes each time it is recalled. Philosopher David Hume went further, arguing that the self is nothing but a bundle of changing perceptions, never a constant entity. As Hume put it, the mind is a theater, where several perceptions successively make their appearance. What you remember is a performance, a narrative crafted in fragments and shadows. As you slip closer to sleep, consider this unsettling truth. Your past is not fixed. It is a story told by an unreliable narrator. Sometimes cruel, sometimes kind, but never fully true. How much of your life is real, and how much is the memory's betrayal? 9. Trust is a fragile illusion. Have you ever asked yourself why trust feels so precious yet so easily shattered? Trust is the fragile thread that binds human connections, yet it is often nothing more than a fragile illusion we cling to in a chaotic world. History is riddled with betrayals, proof that trust is not an innate gift, but a risky gamble, a vulnerability exploited and weaponized. Philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche warned of this fragility, stating in Thus Spoke Zarathustra, "Whoever fights monsters should see to it that in the process he does not become a monster." Trust requires bravery, but it also exposes us to darkness beyond control. The poet William Blake understood the peril in misplaced faith. A truth that's told with bad intent beats all the lies you can invent. Trust, once broken, leaves wounds deeper than deceit itself. As you surrender to sleep, ponder this. Every moment you trust, you are risking a fracture in the very foundation of your reality. Is your trust a sanctuary or a house built on sand? 10. Power is the darkest addiction. Why does the thirst for power consume even the brightest souls? Power is not merely influence, it is a dark addiction that corrupts the mind and devours the spirit. Throughout history, those who grasp for control find themselves chained to an insatiable hunger, a void that no amount of dominion can ever fill. The more power one holds, the deeper the descent into loneliness and despair. Philosopher Lord Acton famously declared, "Power tends to corrupt, and absolute power corrupts absolutely." This corruption is no accident. It is the inevitable consequence of power's intoxicating grip. Psychologist Carl Jung explored this in the concept of the shadow self, the hidden part of our psyche, that hunger for control and dominance, often lurking beneath conscious awareness. As you drift into darkness, reflect on this unsettling truth. Power promises freedom, but often delivers imprisonment, a ceaseless addiction where the prisoner and the warden are one and the same. Have you ever sought power only to find yourself lost within it? 11. Truth is a weapon and a prison. What if the truth you seek is the very thing that traps you? Truth is paradoxical, both liberating and confining. It can free the mind from ignorance, yet it can also become a cage built from harsh realities we are ill-prepared to face. The pursuit of truth has driven humanity to brilliance and madness alike, forcing us to confront the uncomfortable, the unbearable. Philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche grappled with this tension, declaring, "Sometimes people don't want to hear the truth because they don't want their illusions destroyed." Truth demands sacrifice, of comfort, of hope, of the narratives that soothe us. In Plato's allegory of the cave, prisoners cling to shadows, terrified of the blinding light of reality outside. Truth can be a blinding light or a crushing weight, sometimes both. As you surrender to sleep's quiet veil, consider this. Are you ready to face the truth that hides beneath your dreams? Or will you remain shackled by comforting lies? Truth can heal, but it can also destroy. 12. Fear is the oldest chain. Have you ever felt how fear binds you tighter than any physical chain ever could? Fear is the primal force that has shaped human consciousness since the dawn of time. It is both protector and captor, evolved to warn us of danger, yet often twisted into a tool for control and submission. Fear roots itself deep in the mind, shaping decisions, thoughts, and even reality itself. Philosopher Michel Foucault explored how fear is embedded within power structures, writing in Discipline and Punish about how fear disciplines bodies and minds alike, creating docile subjects through invisible constraints. The poet Emily Dickinson described fear's paradox. Fear is the lowest ebb of life. It drains the spirit, reducing us to shadows of ourselves, constantly looking over our shoulders. As your mind drifts into the quiet of sleep, reflect on this. What chains are you still wearing, forged in the fires of ancient fears? Is your freedom just the absence of fear, or is it the courage to face it? 13. Manipulation is the silent language of power. Have you noticed how often your choices aren't really yours? Manipulation is the unseen hand guiding thoughts, emotions, and actions. It operates not through force, but through subtle influence, twisting desires, fears, and beliefs, until you become a puppet, dancing to another's tune. Throughout history, manipulation has been the quiet architect behind wars, revolutions, and everyday decisions alike. Philosopher Hannah Arendt analyzed this in The Origins of Totalitarianism, revealing how propaganda and deception create realities that enslave minds more effectively than chains ever could. As the psychologist Robert Cialdini warns in Influence, we are all vulnerable to the subtle manipulations of others, often without realizing it. As you sink deeper into rest, ask yourself this unsettling question. How much of your reality is truly yours, and how much is crafted by unseen manipulators. In the stillness before sleep, remember, sometimes the most dangerous control is the control you never notice. 14. Obedience is the quiet death of the self. Have you ever wondered how easily minds surrender to authority? Obedience is not just compliance, it is the slow, silent erosion of individuality. History's darkest chapters reveal how ordinary people, by obeying orders without question, become instruments of cruelty and destruction. This surrender of the self is both terrifying and mundane, a daily choice to relinquish thought, responsibility, and conscience. Philosopher Hannah Arendt explored this chilling phenomenon in her study of the banality of evil, showing how evil acts can arise from ordinary obedience rather than monstrous intent. As Arendt wrote, "The sad truth is that most evil is done by people who never make up their minds to be good or evil." As sleep draws near, consider this haunting reality. Every time you obey without question, a piece of your freedom dies. Are you truly alive, or just following a script written by others? 15th. Belief is the most dangerous drug. What if the ideas you hold most sacred are the very ones that blind you? Belief offers comfort, meaning, identity, but it also distorts. It turns uncertainty into false certainty, nuance into dogma, and curiosity into rigid control. Entire civilizations have risen and collapsed on belief alone, sacrificing reason for reassurance, truth for tradition, and humanity for ideology. Philosopher Voltaire warned us, "Those who can make you believe absurdities can make you commit atrocities." Belief is not inherently noble. It becomes dangerous when it silences doubt, when it demands obedience instead of questions. Psychologists call it confirmation bias, the brain's craving for evidence that agrees with what it already believes, no matter how false. As your eyes begin to close and thoughts soften, ask yourself, which of your beliefs truly came from within, and which were quietly injected into your mind? In a world addicted to certainty, the truth often lives in the discomfort of not knowing. 16. Language is a cage for thought. What if every word you speak is limiting what you can truly understand? Language is the invisible prison we mistake for freedom. It shapes how we think, what we feel, and even what we're capable of imagining. But behind every sentence is a boundary of culture, history, and cognition. We don't describe reality. We reduce it to symbols and hope they're enough. Ludwig Wittgenstein, in his Tractatus Logico-Philosophicus, famously wrote, "The limits of my language mean the limits of my world. We cannot think what we cannot name. And so, much of reality remains unspeakable, just beyond reach." George Orwell echoed this in 1984, where the invention of Newspeak slowly erased rebellion, not through violence, but through vocabulary. As sleep folds around you, reflect on this. How many of your thoughts are your own, and how many were caged before they ever formed? In silence, we may finally glimpse what language always kept hidden. 17. Memories are manufactured. Lies. What if the past you remember never actually happened? Memory feels sacred, personal, undeniably real, but it is not a recording, it's a reconstruction, a fragile story your mind rewrites each time you recall it. Scientific studies show how memories can be edited, fabricated, and even implanted. We trust our minds, but our minds lie beautifully. Philosopher John Locke once said, "The only fence against the world is a thorough knowledge of it." But how can we truly know the world if our past is made of shifting illusions? Psychologist Elizabeth Loftus demonstrated how easily false memories can be created, how confidently we can believe in events that never happened. As you drift into sleep, ask yourself, how much of your identity is built on a memory that never truly occurred? You may never know which parts of your life were real and which were written by a desperate mind trying to make sense of chaos. 18. Emotion is a program. You didn't write, are the feelings you trust actually yours? Emotion feels like the core of who we are. Joy, rage, sorrow, they rise within us like unshakable truths. But emotion is not sovereign. It is coded, conditioned, engineered by evolution, culture, and unconscious mechanisms. What you feel is often what you've been taught to feel. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus once wrote, "Men are disturbed not by things, but by the view they take of them." Our emotions are not reactions to reality. They are reactions to perception, to interpretation, to inherited scripts we never chose. Modern neuroscience supports this. Emotions arise from predictive models in the brain, not objective truths. They are guesses, not facts. As your heartbeat slows and your breath deepens, consider this. If your emotions are just pre-written code, who or what is actually feeling them? You are a ghost inside a machine, reacting to echoes of a world shaped before you ever opened your eyes. 19. Desire is designed to keep you empty. Why do the things you crave always leave you wanting more? Desire is not a path to fulfillment. It is a cycle, an engine, a trap. You chase, you consume, you feel the high, and then the hollow. And so you chase again. From sex to status, success to love, desire is programmed to never truly satisfy. Its purpose is not to complete you, it is to keep you moving, consuming, needing. The Buddha taught that desire is the root of suffering. And yet modern life glorifies it, weaponizes it. Corporations engineer longing, algorithms feed addiction, capitalism thrives on the hunger you can never silence. Philosopher René Girard spoke of mimetic desire, the idea that we don't even know what we want until we see others wanting it. Your desires may not be yours at all. As you surrender to sleep, ask, what if the emptiness isn't the failure of desire, but its design? What if your longing isn't a flaw, but the feature that keeps you controllable? 20. You were conditioned to fear yourself. Why are you most afraid of the thoughts that arise when everything else goes quiet? From childhood, we're trained to fear the shadows within us, to flinch at our anger, suppress our doubt, ignore our darkness. Society teaches us to smile, to comply, to be good. But in doing so, we're conditioned to fear our own depth, to exile the most authentic parts of who we are. Carl Jung warned, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. The parts of you you've buried are not gone. They wait, whispering beneath the surface, shaping your fears, your habits, your identity. In psychology, this is called the shadow self, the reservoir of everything you've denied or disowned. And the more you run from it, the more power it holds. As the silence of sleep wraps around you, ask yourself, who would you become if you stopped being afraid of yourself? You were never meant to be perfect. You were meant to be whole. And wholeness begins where fear ends. 21. Morality was invented to control you. What if your sense of right and wrong isn't yours at all? Morality feels innate, like a compass buried in your soul. But that compass was crafted by others, by kings and priests, by laws and institutions. Morality has never been neutral. It has been wielded like a weapon to justify wars, silence dissent, and keep the powerful in power. Friedrich Nietzsche exposed this in On the Genealogy of Morals, claiming that morality is just the herd instinct in the individual. What we call good often reflects obedience, not virtue. What we call evil is often just disobedience to those who fear losing control. Even psychology agrees. Our moral judgments are deeply influenced by context, culture, and unconscious bias. What you believe is right may simply be what you were rewarded for believing. As your thoughts begin to dissolve into sleep, ask yourself, would you still be good if no one told you how? Or has your conscience been colonized by voices you've mistaken for your own? 22. Truth was replaced by persuasion. Do you know the truth, or just the version that won the argument? In a world saturated with narratives, what we call truth often isn't what's real. It's what's convincing. Over time, persuasion replaced evidence. Emotion replaced reason. The loudest voice wins, not the wisest. And somewhere along the way, the actual truth went silent. Philosopher Michel Foucault warned that truth is not by nature free, nor error servile, but that its production is thoroughly embedded in systems of power. The truth you're told often serves someone else, not you. In psychology, this is the illusory truth effect. The more you hear something, the more you believe it, even if it's a lie. Repetition breeds trust, and trust blinds. As you begin to drift into unconsciousness, ask, what do you believe because it was true? And what do you believe because it was repeated? In the age of persuasion, truth isn't hidden. It's buried under layers of stories told too well. At 23, you are taught to ignore the voice inside. When did you stop trusting the quiet voice that only speaks when the world goes silent? Deep within, beneath layers of noise and programming, there is a voice. Not loud, not demanding, just there. It is intuition, instinct, inner knowing. But from a young age, we are taught to doubt it, told that authority knows better, that systems are smarter, that feelings lie. Philosopher Søren Kierkegaard once warned, "The most common form of despair is not being who you are." And that despair often begins the moment you stop listening to yourself. Modern psychology echoes this. The suppression of intuition leads to anxiety, alienation, and chronic self-doubt. You lose touch with your internal compass, and in its place, you follow voices that do not have your soul's best interest. As sleep gently pulls you inward, ask, how many choices in your life were made with someone else's voice in your head? Maybe the thing you've been looking for has been whispering inside you all along. 24. Belonging was used to break you. Why does the need to belong often come with the price of becoming someone you're not? Human beings are wired for connection. We crave acceptance like we crave oxygen, but that craving can be weaponized. Belonging becomes conditional, on silence, on compliance, on being palatable. You shrink parts of yourself to fit into spaces that were never meant to hold the full weight of who you are. The philosopher Jean-Paul Sartre wrote, "Hell is other people." Not because others are evil, but because of how deeply we contort ourselves to be seen, understood, loved. In social psychology, this is normative conformity, the phenomenon where people change beliefs or behaviors, not because they believe them, but to avoid rejection, to survive exile. And as you sink deeper into rest, ask yourself, how many masks have you worn just to be allowed to stay? Maybe you didn't lose your sense of self. Maybe you gave it away, one piece at a time, for a seat at someone else's table. 25. Your mind is a battlefield you never chose. What if the war inside your head wasn't yours to fight? Every day, invisible battles rage, between doubt and certainty, fear and hope, desire and restraint. You think these conflicts are personal, but many are inherited, imposed by a world designed to keep you divided, distracted, and uncertain. The mind becomes a battlefield, scarred by voices not your own, programmed anxieties, and relentless pressure to conform. Friedrich Nietzsche observed, "He who fights with monsters should be careful lest he thereby become a monster." Sometimes the enemy within is the reflection of what we've been forced to battle. Modern neuroscience reveals how trauma, stress, and social conditioning shape neural pathways, turning the brain into a maze of conflict before you even understand the rules. As sleep embraces you, ask, how much of your inner struggle is truly yours, and how much is a war handed down, fought in silence? You are both soldier and prisoner in a mind that never asked for the fight. 26. Your identity is a story you were told to believe. Who would you be if you rewrote the story you've been living all your life? From the moment you were born, a narrative was crafted around you, your family, your culture, your past, your failures, your dreams. This story shapes your sense of self, your limits, your potential. But what if this story is not yours? What if your identity is just the version someone else wanted you to believe? Philosopher Michel Foucault explored how power constructs identities, writing, "We are subjected to the production of truth through power. Your identity is less an essence and more a script, authored by invisible hands." Psychologists call this the narrative self, the internalized story we cling to, often unconsciously, shaping every decision. As your body sinks deeper into rest, reflect. What parts of your story are truly yours, and which are borrowed roles in someone else's play? In the quiet darkness, maybe the self you seek is the one waiting to be written, without permission, without fear. 27. Your thoughts are not your own. How many of your thoughts are truly yours, and how many are echoes borrowed from others? You believe your mind is a sanctuary of originality, but it's often a crowded hall of voices. Cultural programming, social conditioning, media influence, and unconscious bias. These voices infiltrate your thinking, shaping your beliefs and desires before you even realize it. The illusion of autonomy masks a subtle puppetry of the mind. Philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer said, "A man can do what he wants, but not want what he wants." This haunting idea reminds us that our desires and thoughts may be preordained by forces beyond our control. Cognitive science reveals that much of our thinking is automatic, influenced by patterns and inputs we don't consciously choose. As you drift into sleep, question the ownership of your inner dialogue. If your thoughts are not your own, then who is truly behind the curtain? 28. Memory is a lie. You keep telling yourself how much of your past is real, and how much is just a shadow stitched together by your mind. Memory feels like the anchor of identity, the proof of your existence over time. But memories are fragile, malleable, and often deceptive. Your brain does not store perfect records. It reconstructs fragments, filling gaps with imagination, bias, and suggestion. What you remember is less a truth and more a story your mind repeats to keep you sane. Philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche warned, "Sometimes people don't want to hear the truth because they don't want their illusions destroyed." Memory is one of those illusions, comforting but unreliable. Psychology shows how easily false memories can be implanted, how trauma can erase or distort, and how nostalgia can rewrite reality. As sleep takes hold, ponder this. The past you cling to may be the greatest fiction you've ever believed. And tomorrow, that fiction will shape who you decide to be. 29. Your emotions are a prison and a key. Are your feelings the chains that bind you, or the keys that set you free? Emotions flood through you like uncontrollable tides: fear, anger, joy, despair. They can trap you in cycles of pain or unlock hidden depths of understanding. Yet, society often teaches us to suppress or control emotions, treating them as weaknesses to hide. But these feelings are not your enemies. They are signals, raw and unfiltered, revealing truths about your inner world and your place in the universe. Philosopher Blaise Pascal said, "The heart has its reasons which reason knows nothing of." Emotions operate beyond logic, sometimes disrupting clarity, but always carrying meaning. Psychology recognizes emotional intelligence as the ability to navigate these storms, turning chaos into insight. As you surrender to sleep, ask yourself, are you hiding from your emotions, or are you listening to the silent messages they bring? In that balance lies the fragile freedom of being truly alive. 30. The mind forgets its own origins. Have you ever wondered where your mind truly begins and why it hides its own roots? The human mind appears as a miracle of consciousness, yet it obscures the primitive, chaotic forces that forged it. Beneath rational thought lies a shadowy past of instinct, survival, and primal fears. We forget that our sophisticated selves are built atop layers of ancient neural machinery designed to react, not reflect. Philosopher Thomas Nagel asked, "What is it like to be a bat?" Reminding us how alien our own minds can be, even to ourselves. The brain masks its origins, crafting a narrative of control and reason, while the underlying currents remain wild and mysterious. Neuroscience uncovers how much of the mind operates beneath awareness, shaped by evolution more than conscious will. As sleep pulls you under, consider. Your mind's origins are a secret kept by your own consciousness. And in forgetting, it guards the wildness that still pulses beneath the surface of your civilized self. 31. You are a ghost in your own mind. Have you ever felt like the you inside your head is slipping away, an echo fading into silence? The self you cling to is fragile, elusive, and often just a construct, a ghost haunting the machinery of your brain. Neuroscience reveals that our sense of identity is a constantly shifting pattern, a narrative we tell ourselves to create coherence in the chaos. But beneath that story lies emptiness, an absence that mocks the illusion of a stable self. Buddhist philosophy teaches anatta, or no self, the idea that the self is an illusion created by attachment and desire. As the philosopher David Hume observed, When I enter most intimately into what I call myself, I always stumble on some particular perception or other. I never can catch myself at any time without a perception. As you drift into the depths of sleep, ask yourself, is the you who reads these words real, or just a ghost flickering in the shadows of consciousness? And what remains when that ghost fades into the night? 32. Your reality is a cage built by your mind. Have you ever considered that the world you experience is not reality, but a prison constructed by your own brain? Your senses filter, distort, and simplify an infinite universe into a manageable illusion. The colors you see, the sounds you hear, the very space you occupy, all are projections created by neural activity. In this cage, you wander, unaware that your freedom is limited by the boundaries of perception and cognition. Philosopher Immanuel Kant argued that we never experience the thing in itself, only appearances shaped by our mind's structures. This means reality, as you know it, is always mediated, never direct. Neuroscience confirms that the brain actively fabricates experience, piecing together fragments to create a coherent but constrained world. As sleep takes you deeper, question this. Is your reality truly yours, or just a beautifully crafted cage you can never escape? And if this cage is all you've ever known, what does freedom even mean? 33. You are slowly being replaced by memories. Have you noticed how the person you once were fades, leaving behind only fragments in your mind? With every moment, your consciousness reconstructs itself, not as a continuous thread, but as a mosaic of memories, impressions, and forgotten experiences. The you of yesterday is not the you of today. You are replaced bit by the echoes of what once was. Philosopher Heraclitus said, "No man ever steps in the same river twice." This constant flow of change applies equally to your identity. Psychology reveals that memory shapes identity more than any fixed essence, yet memories are unreliable, fading, or morphing with time. As sleep envelops you, reflect on this. The self is not a constant being, but a ghostly accumulation of fading memories. And one day, those memories will be all that remains, disconnected, fragmented, and slowly dissolving into oblivion. 34. Your mind is a prison of invisible chains. How many of your thoughts and desires are shackled without your knowing? Invisible forces, society, culture, biology, bind your mind in subtle ways. You are conditioned to believe you're free, but these unseen chains dictate your fears, hopes, and even your dreams. Your will feels your own, yet it dances to rhythms written long before you were born. Philosopher Michel Foucault explored how power shapes knowledge and controls the mind, reminding us that freedom is often an illusion carefully maintained. Neuroscience shows how habits and neural pathways can imprison us in patterns of behavior, creating a mental cage we rarely question. As darkness pulls you under, consider, what are the invisible chains you wear every day? And if you can't see your prison, how can you ever break free? 35. You are the product of a manipulated reality. What if every belief you hold, every truth you cherish, is shaped by forces beyond your control? From the stories told to you in childhood to the media that shapes your worldview, reality is carefully crafted to guide your thoughts and actions. This manipulation is subtle, pervasive, a psychological web that influences your fears, desires, and sense of self without your awareness. you live inside a constructed illusion, designed to keep you compliant and distracted. Philosopher Jean Baudrillard warned of simulacra, copies without an original, a hyper-reality where distinctions between real and fake dissolve. Modern psychology reveals how propaganda, social conditioning, and cognitive biases mold perceptions, often without conscious consent. As you surrender to sleep, reflect. Are your thoughts truly yours, or the product of an unseen puppeteer? And if your reality is manipulated, can you ever find what is genuinely real? 36. You are a consciousness trapped in a machine. Have you ever wondered if your mind is just a ghost trapped inside a mechanical shell? Your brain is a complex biological machine processing signals and generating experience. But what if consciousness itself is nothing more than an emergent illusion, an algorithm running on flesh and bone? This unsettling idea challenges the very essence of what it means to be alive, blurring the line between organic life and cold computation. Philosopher Thomas Metzinger explores this notion in The Ego Tunnel, describing the self as a transparent model generated by the brain, a simulation within a simulation. In the age of artificial intelligence and virtual realities, this thought is no longer science fiction, but a growing possibility. As sleep pulls you under, consider, if your consciousness is trapped in this biological machine, who or what is truly in control? And if the machine falters, what happens to the ghost inside? 37. Your mind is haunted by invisible influences. Do you ever feel the presence of forces shaping your thoughts, desires, and fears, forces you cannot see or resist? Your consciousness is not an isolated fortress, but a battleground for invisible influences, cultural myths, ancestral fears, subconscious drives. These forces manipulate your perceptions and decisions without your consent, leaving you a ghost wandering within your own mind. Carl Jung described these unseen powers as the collective unconscious, a hidden layer of the psyche filled with archetypes and shadows that shape human behavior across generations. Modern psychology confirms how subconscious impulses govern much of what you think and do, often eluding awareness entirely. As you drift to sleep, ask yourself, what unseen ghosts haunt your mind tonight? And if you cannot see these forces, how can you ever hope to master them? 38. Your thoughts are not your own. Have you ever paused to wonder, are your thoughts truly yours, or echoes planted deep within? From the moment you wake, your mind is bombarded with subtle suggestions, advertisements, social cues, hidden agendas that shape what you think, believe, and feel. The illusion of independent thought fades when you realize much of your mental life is guided by forces beyond your control, steering you like a marionette in a grand psychological theater. Philosopher Noam Chomsky argued that true freedom of thought is rare, as power structures manipulate public consciousness to maintain control. Psychology reveals how cognitive biases and social conditioning quietly shape your internal dialogue without your awareness. As sleep descends, consider this unsettling truth. Your mind may be a battleground where real freedom is the rarest victory. And in the quiet darkness, what thoughts remain truly your own? 39. Your memories are lies. You tell yourself. Have you ever questioned the truth behind your own memories? the stories you carry in your mind, the moments that shape your identity. They are fragile, malleable, and often distorted. Memory is not a perfect recording, but a reconstruction, vulnerable to suggestion, decay, and fabrication. What you remember might be a lie, carefully stitched together by your brain to preserve a coherent narrative, even if that narrative betrays reality. Philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche warned, "All things are subject to interpretation." Memories, too, bend and twist under the weight of time and perspective. Neuroscience confirms that every recall alters the memory itself, making truth slippery and elusive. As sleep pulls you under, reflect on this. The past you cling to is a shifting illusion, a fragile myth told by your mind. And if your memories deceive you, what remains of the self they built? 40. Your consciousness is a flickering candle in the darkness. Have you ever felt your awareness dim, as if your very sense of self were a fragile flame struggling against the void? Consciousness is not a steady light, but a flickering, fragile phenomenon, vulnerable to the chaos of the universe and the decay of the body. Every moment of clarity is transient, a brief spark before darkness swallows it again. The mind teeters on the edge of oblivion, forever at risk of being extinguished. Philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer described life as a pendulum swinging between pain and boredom, with consciousness caught in the middle, always flickering between awareness and nothingness. Neuroscience shows how easily consciousness can be altered, diminished, or lost entirely, reminding us of its delicate, impermanent nature. As sleep draws you deeper, contemplate this. Your consciousness is a fragile candle, burning briefly in a vast, indifferent darkness. And one day, that flicker will be snuffed out, leaving only silence behind. 41. You are a shadow of forgotten ancestors. Have you ever sensed that beneath your thoughts and desires lies something older, something ancient and unknowable? Your consciousness is shaped by countless generations before you, a ghostly inheritance from ancestors whose lives and struggles you cannot remember, but whose echoes live within your mind. You are a shadow, cast by the forgotten past, carrying forward fragments of memories, instincts, and fears etched deep into your genetic code. Philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche called this the will to power, an ancient force driving life to persist through endless cycles of death and rebirth. Modern genetics reveals how much of your behavior and mental life is influenced by inherited traits, linking you to a vast, unseen lineage. As sleep pulls you under, reflect on this unsettling truth. You are not just yourself. You are a living echo of a long-forgotten past, wandering a world shaped by ancestors you never knew. And in the quiet darkness, their whispers still guide your steps. 42. Your mind is a battlefield of silent wars. Have you ever felt torn by conflicting thoughts and emotions, as if your own mind is at war with itself? Within you, countless silent battles rage, between desire and fear, reason and instinct, hope and despair. These internal conflicts shape your reality, often unnoticed, as you struggle for control over a mind divided. You are both the warrior and the battlefield, fighting wars with no clear enemy and no end in sight. Philosopher Sigmund Freud described this struggle as the conflict between the id, ego, and superego, forces constantly vying for dominance within the psyche. Psychology uncovers how these tensions shape behavior, often driving us toward unseen patterns and compulsions. As sleep embraces you, consider this. Your mind is not a peaceful sanctuary, but a war zone of silent, invisible battles. And in the stillness of night, which side will claim victory? 43. You are slowly dying in plain sight. Have you ever realized that with every breath, you are inching closer to oblivion, while the world keeps turning, unaware? Life is a slow decay, a gradual fading of the self beneath the surface of daily routines and distractions. Each moment that slips away is a piece of you lost forever, a silent surrender to the inevitable end. Yet you carry on, caught in the illusion of permanence, blind to the slow death happening inside you. Philosopher Martin Heidegger called this being toward death, the ever-present awareness that shapes authentic existence. Existential thinkers remind us that embracing this truth can either paralyze or awaken us to the fleeting nature of life. As sleep descends, reflect on this unsettling reality. You are dying right now, in plain sight, unnoticed, and unstoppable. And the question remains, how will you live knowing this truth? 44. Your identity is a fragile illusion. Have you ever stopped to wonder, who are you really beneath all your thoughts, memories, and roles? The self you cling to, the identity you've built, is nothing more than a fragile construct, an illusion woven by your mind to make sense of chaos. It shifts with every passing moment, shaped by fleeting emotions, external influences, and incomplete memories. The you believe in is not a fixed entity, but a constantly evolving mirage. Philosopher David Hume argued that the self is nothing but a bundle of perceptions, without any true, permanent core. Contemporary neuroscience echoes this, showing how brain activity creates the feeling of a unified self, even though it is a complex, fragmented process. As you drift into sleep, contemplate this unsettling thought. The person you think you are may vanish like a dream upon waking. And if your identity is a fragile illusion, what remains when it fades away? 45. Your reality is controlled by unseen forces. Have you ever felt that the world around you moves according to rules you can't see or understand? Behind every moment of your waking life lies a network of unseen forces, social structures, psychological manipulations, economic powers that shape your choices and perceptions. You believe you are free, but your reality is crafted and controlled by influences hidden in plain sight, guiding you like a pawn on a vast, invisible chessboard. Philosopher Michel Foucault explored this in his concept of power/knowledge, revealing how knowledge and authority shape human behavior and thought. Psychologists demonstrate how media, propaganda, and social norms subtly control public consciousness. As sleep envelops you, consider this unsettling truth. The reality you trust is often nothing more than a carefully controlled illusion. And the deeper you look, the more you realize how little control you truly have. 46. You are a product of psychological warfare. Have you ever sensed that your thoughts, emotions, and desires are battlegrounds shaped by invisible conflicts? Throughout history, psychological warfare has been waged not only on battlefields, but deep within minds, through propaganda, manipulation, and fear. You are an unknowing participant in this war, your consciousness a target for those who seek control. Every belief you hold, every fear you feel, may have been planted deliberately to shape your behavior and keep you subdued. Philosopher Hannah Arendt warned of the banality of evil, how ordinary people become instruments of control without awareness. Modern studies of psychological operations reveal the subtle, pervasive ways minds are influenced and fractured. As you drift into sleep, reflect on this. Your mind may not be your own battleground, but the prize in a war you never chose to fight. And in the silence of night, who truly holds the power? 47. Your mind is trapped in a cage of beliefs. Have you ever felt imprisoned, not by walls or chains, but by ideas you cannot escape? Beliefs shape your reality, yet they also bind you, limiting your perception and freedom. These mental cages are built from culture, upbringing, and fear, creating invisible prisons that keep you confined to familiar but suffocating patterns. Escape is possible, but only when you confront the very foundations of your thoughts and question the truth you have always accepted. Philosopher Jean-Paul Sartre called this bad faith, the act of deceiving oneself to avoid facing uncomfortable realities. Psychologists show how cognitive biases reinforce these mental prisons, keeping minds locked in repeating loops. As sleep pulls you under, ask yourself, what beliefs are your cage tonight? And if your mind is trapped, can you ever truly be free? 48. Your emotions are weapons turned against you. Have you ever realized that the very feelings meant to guide and protect you can become your greatest enemies? Emotions are primal forces, deeply wired into your psyche, but they can be twisted into tools of manipulation, both by others and by your own mind. Fear, guilt, and shame can imprison your soul, making you a prisoner to invisible chains. These emotional weapons erode your sense of self, creating turmoil beneath the calm surface. Philosopher Søren Kierkegaard wrote, "Anxiety is the dizziness of freedom, a torment that reveals the conflict within your own being." Modern psychology reveals how emotional manipulation is used throughout history to control masses and individuals alike. As sleep takes hold, reflect on this. The emotions you feel tonight may not be yours alone. They may be the weapons used to keep you confined. And in the quiet darkness, ask yourself, who truly holds the trigger? 49. Your thoughts are prisoners of invisible chains. Have you ever tried to grasp a thought, only to find it slipping through your fingers, controlled by forces you cannot see? Your mind is bound by invisible chains, cultural conditioning, subconscious biases, and unseen influences that dictate which thoughts are allowed to flourish and which are silenced. True freedom of thought is an illusion. Even your most rebellious ideas are shaped by these hidden shackles. The mind is a cage, and the key is forever just out of reach. Philosopher Immanuel Kant believed that while we can think independently, our understanding is limited by the frameworks imposed by our senses and experience. Contemporary psychology uncovers how much of our cognition is influenced without our awareness. As you drift toward sleep, consider this unsettling truth. Your thoughts may never truly be your own. And if your mind is chained, what does it mean to be free? 50. You are an echo in an endless hall of minds. Have you ever felt like your thoughts and feelings are not entirely original, but reverberations of countless others before you? Your consciousness is not isolated. It is an echo within an infinite hall, shaped by the minds of those who came before and those around you. Ideas, fears, and dreams ripple through generations, blending into your sense of self until the line between your voice and the collective becomes blurred. You are less a unique being and more a resonant chamber for ancient and ongoing human experience. Philosopher Carl Jung spoke of the collective unconscious, a shared reservoir of memories and archetypes inherited across time. Neuroscience confirms how social and cultural environments deeply influence your psyche. As sleep descends, reflect on this haunting thought. Your mind is not alone, but forever entwined in a vast, endless web of human consciousness. And in the quiet of night, whose voice are you truly hearing? 51. Your memories are fading shadows of a lost self. Have you ever questioned how much of what you remember is real, and how much is a fragile illusion slipping through time? Memories, once vivid, slowly erode like shadows at dusk, leaving behind only faint traces of who you once were. The self you carry is a patchwork of fading recollections, fragmented and distorted by time and trauma. What you hold on to as your history may be more fiction than fact, a ghostly narrative that quietly dies with each passing moment. Philosopher Henri Bergson argued that memory is not a fixed record, but a living, malleable force, reshaped by the present. Modern neuroscience shows how memories can be altered, forgotten, or fabricated without our awareness. As sleep wraps around you, consider this unsettling reality. The self you think you know is slowly dissolving into forgotten shadows. And if your memories fade, what remains of you when dawn breaks? 52. Your dreams are portals to a forgotten reality. Have you ever wondered if your dreams reveal truths your waking mind refuses to face? In sleep, your consciousness slips into strange realms where the boundaries of reality blur and the subconscious whispers its secrets. Dreams may be fragments of forgotten memories, alternate possibilities, or glimpses into dimensions beyond comprehension. They are portals to a reality hidden beneath the surface of your everyday existence, one that challenges your understanding of who you are and what is real. Philosopher Carl Jung believed dreams are the language of the unconscious, revealing the psyche's hidden depths. Contemporary studies show dreams help process trauma, fears, and desires buried deep within. As you fall deeper into sleep, reflect on this. Your dreams might be the only place where your true self still roams free. And when you awaken, how much of that reality will you carry back? 53. You are a ghost in your own life. Have you ever felt detached, as if watching yourself from a distance, an invisible observer trapped within your own body? This eerie sensation reflects the fragmented nature of consciousness, where the self is no single entity, but a spectral presence drifting through memories and sensations. You become a ghost, haunting the corridors of your own existence, disconnected from genuine experience and lost in endless internal narratives. This disconnection is both a defense and a prison, a way to survive suffering, yet a cause of profound loneliness. Philosopher René Descartes famously declared, "I think, therefore I am." But what if thinking only isolates the self further? Modern psychology identifies dissociation as a common, haunting phenomenon that fractures the self. As sleep calls you, consider this chilling thought. You may already be a ghost, lost in your own mind, unseen, unheard, and alone. And in the silence of the night, who remains to witness your fading existence? 54. Your sense of self is a fractured illusion. Have you ever questioned whether the you know is whole or merely a shattered reflection? The self is not a fixed entity, but a mosaic of fragmented thoughts, memories, and impulses, constantly shifting and never truly unified. What you call I is an illusion, a story your brain tells to create order out of chaos. This fractured identity leaves you vulnerable, drifting through life without a stable core, always searching for a sense of belonging that may never come. Philosopher David Hume argued that the self is nothing but a bundle of perceptions without true unity. Modern neuroscience confirms the brain's division into multiple, sometimes conflicting systems, creating this fractured experience. As sleep overtakes you, ponder this unsettling truth. Your sense of self may be nothing more than a fragile, fractured illusion. And if that illusion fades, what remains in the dark? 55. Your mind is haunted by unseen puppeteers. Have you ever felt that your choices, your desires, are not truly your own? Invisible forces pull the strings behind your consciousness. Social conditioning, hidden agendas, subconscious drives, all shaping your decisions without your awareness. You may believe you act freely, but these unseen puppeteers manipulate your every move, guiding you down predetermined paths. The illusion of autonomy masks a deeper captivity within the shadows of your own mind. Philosopher Baruch Spinoza wrote, "Freedom is understanding necessity, revealing that what we perceive as free will may be the acceptance of unseen causality." Psychologists confirm how unconscious influences govern much of our behavior, often without detection. As sleep descends, reflect on this. The hands controlling your mind are invisible, and you may never break their hold. And in the stillness of night, who truly directs your life's performance? 56. Your reality is a carefully crafted lie. Have you ever questioned if the world you perceive is true or just an elaborate illusion? From childhood, you are immersed in a constructed reality, shaped by language, culture, and manipulation. What you call truth is often a carefully designed facade, created to control, comfort, or confuse. The line between reality and deception blurs, leaving you trapped in a world where certainty is impossible and doubt is your only companion. Philosopher Plato's allegory of the cave reveals how humans can mistake shadows for reality, forever blinded by illusion. Modern science and psychology expose how perception is subjective and easily manipulated. As sleep takes you deeper, consider this chilling thought. Your waking life might be nothing more than a crafted lie you've learned to accept. And when the darkness closes in, will you dare to see beyond the veil? 57. Your mind is a battlefield of silent wars. Have you ever felt torn between thoughts and feelings you cannot reconcile? Within your consciousness, endless silent wars rage, between reason and desire, hope and despair, identity and doubt. These battles are invisible to the outside world, yet they shape your every action, your every decision. The conflict fragments your sense of peace, leaving scars unseen but deeply felt. Your mind becomes a war zone where victory is uncertain, and surrender seems the only escape. Philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche wrote, "He who fights with monsters should look to it that he himself does not become a monster." Psychology reveals the inner turmoil that defines human existence, often hidden beneath calm facades. As sleep enfolds you, contemplate this. The wars within may never cease, and peace might be a fleeting dream. And in the silence of the night, who claims the victory inside you? 58. You are slowly losing yourself to the noise. Have you noticed how distractions chip away at your inner stillness, fragmenting your consciousness? In a world drowning in endless noise, constant stimuli, information overload, relentless demands, your mind begins to dissolve. The subtle erosion of focus and presence leaves you a ghost wandering through fragmented moments. You lose touch with your essence, becoming a mere reaction to the cacophony around you. The noise is not just external, it invades your mind, stealing your sense of self piece by piece. Philosopher Søren Kierkegaard warned that despair is the sickness unto death, a state born from losing connection to one's true self. Modern neuroscience highlights how constant distraction impairs deep thought and self-awareness. As you drift toward sleep, feel the weight of this truth. The world's noise is not just around you, it is inside you, slowly erasing who you are. And when silence finally arrives, will you recognize the person left behind? 59. Your true desires are hidden beneath layers of fear. Have you ever tried to face what you truly want, only to find it buried deep beneath anxiety and doubt? Your deepest desires are often obscured by layers of fear, fear of rejection, failure, or the unknown. These fears create a shadow that conceals your authentic self, leaving you wandering in a fog of hesitation. What you think you want may be shaped more by survival instincts than genuine longing. The struggle to uncover your true desires is a quiet torment, a psychological labyrinth with no clear exit. Philosopher Jean-Paul Sartre claimed, "Freedom is what you do with what's been done to you," emphasizing the weight of internal struggle. Psychology explores how fear governs much of human motivation, often in invisible ways. As sleep envelops you, consider this. The desires you chase may never be yours until you confront the fears that hide them. And in the dark, will you dare to meet your true self? 60. You are a prisoner of your own mind's labyrinth. Have you ever felt trapped within your thoughts, unable to find an exit? The human mind is a labyrinth, twisting, turning, endless corridors filled with doubts, regrets, and fears. You wander this mental maze, searching for meaning or escape. But every path leads back to where you started. Your own thoughts become the walls that imprison you, making freedom seem unreachable. This self-imposed captivity is invisible, yet profoundly suffocating. Philosopher Albert Camus described life as the absurd, where searching for meaning in a meaningless maze is our eternal struggle. Neuroscience shows how rumination can trap the mind in repetitive cycles, deepening despair. As sleep pulls you under, reflect on this. You may already be locked inside your mind's darkest prison with no key in sight. And when morning comes, will you still be wandering? 61. You are becoming the ghost of your future self. Have you ever considered that the person you will become is already fading away, even as you try to hold on? Time relentlessly erodes your present self, turning it into a shadow, an echo of what once was and what might never be. The future self you imagine is not a promise, but a ghost haunting your present choices. Each decision simultaneously shapes and diminishes that future, yet that self remains intangible, slipping further into uncertainty. You are both creator and prisoner of a self you may never truly meet. Philosopher Martin Heidegger spoke of being toward death, the awareness that our existence is always moving toward an inevitable end. Psychology reveals how anticipation and anxiety about the future shape and sometimes dissolve our sense of self. As sleep envelops you, ponder this. The ghost of your future self watches silently, fading even as you dream of becoming. And when dawn breaks, who will you really be? 62. Your emotions are silent tyrants, governing your mind. Have you ever realized how much control your emotions secretly hold over you? Beneath the surface of reason lies a realm ruled by invisible tyrants, fear, anger, jealousy, and despair, that silently dictate your thoughts and actions. These emotions are primal forces, ancient and relentless, bending your will without consent. You may believe you command your mind, but it is often your emotions that hold the scepter, enslaving your logic and shaping your reality in unseen ways. Philosopher Blaise Pascal observed, "The heart has its reasons which reason knows nothing of," pointing to the irrational dominion of feelings. Modern psychology confirms how emotions can hijack cognition, leading to choices that defy reason. As you drift into sleep, consider this unsettling truth. Your mind is not your own. It is a kingdom ruled by silent, merciless tyrants. And when dawn arrives, who will you have become under their reign? 63. You are slowly erasing your own existence. Have you ever noticed how moments slip away, forgotten, as if you were fading into nothingness? Every day, memories fade, experiences blur, and the imprint you leave on the world grows dimmer. This slow erasure is inevitable, a quiet death of the self long before the body succumbs. Your existence dissolves into shadows, your story unread, your presence forgotten. The mind tries to hold on, but time is a relentless thief, stealing pieces of you until there is scarcely anything left. Philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer described life as a brief flash of consciousness surrounded by eternal darkness, underscoring our impermanence. Neuroscience explains how memory decay is natural yet deeply unsettling when considered as loss of self. As you fall into sleep's embrace, reflect on this. You are already vanishing, a ghost dissolving into the abyss of forgotten time. And when no one remembers, what meaning remains in your life? 64. Your thoughts are not your own, but echoes of others. Have you ever felt that your beliefs and ideas aren't truly yours? From birth, your mind is shaped by voices, parents, society, culture, imprinting thoughts that masquerade as your own. These borrowed ideas echo endlessly, creating a chorus of external influence that drowns out your authentic self. The illusion of originality fades, revealing that much of what you think is a reflection of others' fears, hopes, and manipulations. Your mind is a vessel, filled not with your own light, but with shadows cast by unseen hands. Philosopher Michel Foucault argued that power structures shape knowledge and identity, controlling what we believe. Psychological studies show how conformity and social conditioning profoundly influence thought. As sleep draws near, consider this haunting truth. Your mind may be less yours than you ever dared imagine. And when morning breaks, will you recognize the voice inside your head? 65. You are both the prisoner and the warden of your own mind. Have you ever realized that the barriers confining you come from within? The most formidable prisons are not built from stone or iron, but from the walls of your own thoughts, fears, doubts, regrets, that you reinforce every day. You hold the keys, yet choose to lock yourself away, trapped in cycles of self-imposed limitation. The paradox is profound. You are both captive and jailer, condemned by a mind that simultaneously imprisons and judges you. Escape requires surrender, but surrender feels like defeat. Philosopher Jean-Paul Sartre wrote, "Man is condemned to be free, because once thrown into the world, he is responsible for everything he does." Psychology highlights how self-sabotage and internal conflict maintain mental prisons. As sleep envelops you, contemplate this unsettling truth. The only way out is through the very mind that holds you captive. And when you awaken, will you dare to turn the key? 66. Your identity is a mask, slowly wearing thin. Have you ever sensed that the person you present to the world is not who you truly are? The self you cling to is a fragile mask crafted from memories, social roles, and expectations. Over time, the mask frays, cracks, and peels, revealing the uncertain void beneath. This erosion exposes the unsettling truth that identity is fluid, unstable, and perhaps an illusion. The deeper you look, the less you find, only an ever-changing reflection shaped by fleeting moments and external forces. Philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche proclaimed, "Become who you are." But what if who you are is nothing but a fading mask? Psychology discusses the concept of the false self, a survival mechanism that shields a vulnerable core. As you drift into sleep, ponder this. The face you show the world may be dissolving right now. And when the mask falls away, who will be left staring back? 67. You are slowly becoming a memory in someone else's mind. Have you ever wondered what it means to exist once you're no longer remembered? Our lives are not just lived. They are sustained by memory, by the fragile imprint we leave in others' minds. But memory is fleeting, unreliable, and prone to decay. With each passing moment, you edge closer to becoming nothing more than a fading recollection, a ghost haunting someone else's thoughts. The terrifying truth is that your existence depends on others, and when those memories vanish, so do you. Philosopher John Locke argued that memory is essential to personal identity. But what happens when memory fails? Psychology shows how collective memory shapes history and erases individuals. As sleep pulls you under, reflect on this. You are already a fading shadow in the minds of others. And when the last memory of you fades, what will remain of your existence? 68. You are an experiment. You never signed up. For have you ever felt like your life is controlled by forces beyond your understanding? From the moment of birth, your consciousness is subjected to invisible experiments, social conditioning, psychological manipulation, and cultural programming, designed to shape, control, and often deceive. You are the unwitting subject of countless experiments on belief, behavior, and conformity. Your choices may feel free, but many are predetermined by unseen hands molding your mind like clay. Philosopher Michel Foucault explored how power operates through subtle control over individuals and populations. Modern psychology reveals how manipulation techniques influence thoughts and decisions without awareness. As sleep enfolds you, consider this. You may be living in a carefully constructed experiment you never agreed to join. And when you wake, will you recognize who truly holds the power? 69. Your mind is a labyrinth with no exit. Have you ever felt trapped within your own thoughts, wandering endlessly with no way out? The human mind is a twisting maze, filled with shadows of doubt, fear, and unanswered questions. Each turn promises clarity, but leads only deeper into confusion. The more you seek to understand yourself, the more lost you become, chasing illusions of meaning that dissolve upon approach. Escape is a mirage, and the labyrinth is your permanent home, forever winding, forever dark. Philosopher Søren Kierkegaard called this existential despair the sickness unto death, the feeling of being lost within oneself. Neuroscience shows how recursive thinking can trap the mind in endless loops of anxiety. As you drift into sleep, ponder this. You may never find the exit because there is none. And when you awaken, will you be any less lost than before? 70. You are the last observer of your own collapse. Have you ever realized that you watch yourself disintegrate from within? Consciousness is both witness and victim, a silent spectator to the slow unraveling of your mind, body, and soul. You observe your thoughts decay, your emotions fray, and your very sense of self dissolve into chaos. This self-awareness is a cruel paradox. You see your collapse, yet remain powerless to stop it. Like a candle burning at both ends, you burn out while witnessing your own extinction. Philosopher Emile Cioran wrote, "To exist is to be perpetually on the edge of collapse." Psychology confirms how self-reflection can deepen feelings of helplessness and despair. As sleep claims you, contemplate this. You are the last witness to a disintegration no one else can see. And when morning comes, will you still recognize the person in the mirror? 71. The comfort you seek is an illusion, crafted by your mind. Have you ever chased peace, only to find it slipping further away? The solace we crave, the calm, the safety, the comfort, is often a mirage constructed by the restless mind. It whispers promises of relief, yet these illusions dissolve upon closer inspection. True peace requires confronting the chaos within, but the mind resists, preferring the fragile safety of comforting lies. This delicate balance is a trap. We seek comfort to escape pain, yet the comfort itself can imprison us in denial and stagnation. Philosopher Blaise Pascal observed, "All of humanity's problems stem from man's inability to sit quietly in a room alone." Psychology reveals how cognitive biases protect us from harsh realities, but at the cost of genuine growth. As sleep takes hold, reflect on this. The comfort you chase may be the greatest deception of all. And when dawn breaks, will you choose illusion or truth? 72. Your reality is a collective dream, slowly unraveling. Have you ever questioned whether the world around you is truly real or just a shared illusion? Our experience of reality is shaped by collective beliefs, narratives, and perceptions that bind us together like threads in a fragile tapestry. But this tapestry is unraveling, thread by thread, as cracks in truth emerge, through disillusionment, conflict, and uncertainty. What once seemed solid now trembles beneath the weight of doubt, revealing the unsettling possibility that reality is nothing more than a shared dream we're all losing grip on. Philosopher Plato's allegory of the cave reminds us how much of what we perceive is mere shadow and illusion. Modern science and psychology explore how perception constructs and distorts our experience of reality. As you drift towards sleep, consider this. The world you trust may be dissolving around you. And when you wake, Will the dream continue? Or will you see the void behind the veil? 73. Your deepest fears are imprinted before you're even born. Have you ever wondered if the anxieties that haunt you are truly yours? Psychological research suggests that trauma and fears can be passed down through generations, encoded in our very biology before we take our first breath. You carry not only your own burdens, but also echoes of your ancestors' darkest nightmares. This inherited weight shapes your consciousness, blurring the lines between self and history, making your mind a haunted house filled with invisible ghosts. Philosopher Carl Jung introduced the idea of the collective unconscious, where ancestral memories dwell beyond awareness. Modern epigenetics reveals how stress and trauma can alter genetic expression across generations. As you surrender to sleep, reflect on this. The fears that grip you may be ancient shadows living inside you unseen. And when you awaken, will you face your own demons or those passed down through time? 74. Your sense of self is a story you keep retelling. Have you ever stopped to question who you really are beneath the narrative? The self you believe in is not a fixed entity, but a fragile story constantly rewritten by your memories, desires, and fears. This story shapes your identity, giving a comforting illusion of continuity, but it's fragile, prone to distortion, forgetfulness, and reinvention. Philosophers warn that this narrative can trap you in falsehoods, illusions that prevent genuine self-understanding or freedom. Philosopher David Hume argued, "The self is nothing but a bundle of perceptions." Modern psychology supports this, showing how identity is malleable and influenced by countless internal and external factors. As you drift into sleep, ponder this. The self you cling to may be no more than a fleeting tale, fading with every breath. And when you wake, will you still recognize the story you tell yourself? 75. Your mind is a prison of invisible walls. Have you ever felt confined by limits you cannot see or touch? Though your thoughts seem free, they are often trapped within invisible boundaries, prejudices, fears, social conditioning that cage your consciousness. These walls are not physical, yet they restrict your perception, your choices, and even your dreams. The more you try to break free, the more you realize how deeply embedded these invisible chains are, making liberation a distant, perhaps impossible goal. Philosopher Jean-Paul Sartre said, "Man is condemned to be free." Yet, this freedom is paradoxically shackled by unseen forces. Psychological studies reveal how cognitive biases and mental barriers limit human potential and self-awareness. As sleep overtakes you, consider this. The prison is real, but the walls are only as strong as the beliefs you hold. And when morning comes, will you seek the key or accept your confinement? 76. The whisper of madness lurks within every thought. Have you ever sensed that your mind teeters on the edge of chaos, fragile and unpredictable? Madness is not some distant abyss, but a thin veil separating sanity from disorder. Beneath the surface of reason lies a wild, untamed chaos that threatens to overwhelm the fragile structures of logic and control. This whisper of madness hums in every fleeting doubt, every shadowed fear, and every irrational impulse, reminding you how close you are to losing the very grip on reality that defines your existence. Philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche famously said, "And if you gaze long into an abyss, the abyss also gazes into you. Psychiatry explores how thin the line is between genius and madness, reason and chaos. As you surrender to sleep, reflect on this. The madness within is not an enemy, but a part of you, waiting patiently in the dark. And when you wake, will you tame the whisper or let it consume you? 77. Your memories are a labyrinth. You can never escape. Have you ever tried to find your way out of the endless maze of your own past? Memories are not fixed records, but shifting shadows that twist and turn, trapping you in a labyrinth of longing, regret, and forgotten truths. No matter how far you run or how deeply you bury them, they resurface, distorted, haunting, and impossible to fully understand. This endless maze shapes your identity, yet confines you, making freedom a cruel illusion. Philosopher Søren Kierkegaard suggested that life can only be understood backwards, but it must be lived forwards. Modern neuroscience shows how memory is unreliable, reconstructed, and susceptible to manipulation. As sleep draws near, ponder this. The maze of your memories is both your prison and your home. And when morning breaks, will you still wander its corridors or find a path to peace? 78. You are slowly becoming the ghost of your former self. Have you noticed how time erodes who you once were, leaving behind only shadows? Every moment lived is a fragment lost, every choice a step away from the person you once knew. Like a fading echo in an empty chamber, your identity dissolves bit by bit, until the self you cling to becomes nothing more than a ghost haunting your own existence. This slow vanishing is inevitable, yet deeply unsettling, forcing you to confront the impermanence not only of life, but of the you that experiences it. Philosopher Heraclitus famously declared, "No man ever steps in the same river twice, for it's not the same river, and he's not the same man." Psychology explains how personality shifts over time, influenced by memory loss, trauma, and continuous change. As you drift into sleep, reflect on this. The self you know is already slipping away. And when you wake, will you recognize the ghost that remains? 79. Your mind is a battlefield of hidden manipulations. Have you ever realized how much of your thoughts are shaped by forces you never see? From subtle social cues to deep psychological tactics, your mind is constantly under siege by unseen influences designed to control, deceive, and manipulate. This invisible warfare warps your perceptions, decisions, and desires, making free will a fragile illusion. You are a soldier fighting shadows, often unaware of the battles raging within your own consciousness. Philosopher Michel Foucault explored how power operates through hidden mechanisms in society. Modern psychology reveals countless cognitive biases and manipulative techniques embedded in everyday interactions. As you surrender to sleep, consider this. The battlefield within you is endless and unseen. And when you awaken, will you recognize the true enemy or remain a pawn in their game? 80. Your dreams are silent messages from your subconscious prison. Have you ever woken up haunted by images you don't understand? Dreams are the cryptic whispers of your subconscious mind, revealing fears, desires, and truths you suppress during waking hours. They are not random illusions, but coded messages from a mental prison where you are both the captor and the captive. Exploring these dreams can be terrifying, as they expose the hidden chambers of your psyche, places where light rarely reaches. Carl Jung called dreams the royal road to the unconscious, a path to confront your shadow self. Modern neuroscience shows how dreams process unresolved emotions and traumatic memories. As sleep envelops you, ponder this. The prison is silent, but its walls are etched with your deepest secrets. And when dawn breaks, will you dare to face the messages your mind has sent? 81. The illusion of control is the mind's most dangerous trick. Have you ever believed you held the reins of your own life, only to realize you were merely a passenger? Control is a comforting illusion crafted by the mind to shield itself from chaos. Yet beneath this fragile facade lies a turbulent sea of chance, unseen forces, and random events shaping every decision you make. Clinging to control is like trying to grasp smoke. The tighter you hold, the more it slips away, leaving you vulnerable to despair and helplessness. Philosopher Baruch Spinoza wrote, "The more you struggle to control, the more you are controlled." Psychology reveals how the need for control can fuel anxiety and undermine true freedom. As you drift into sleep, reflect on this. Surrendering to the unknown may be the only way to find peace. And when you wake, will you still fight the illusion or finally let go? 82. You are both the prisoner and the prison warden of your own mind. Have you ever felt trapped by thoughts that seem both foreign and familiar? Your mind builds walls not just to confine you, but also to guard you from truths too painful to face. You are both captive and jailer, imprisoned by fears, doubts, and desires, yet also the one who locks the doors shut. This paradox reveals the complexity of consciousness, the torment of being trapped by what you cannot escape, yet unable or unwilling to break free. Philosopher Emmanuel Levinas spoke of the infinite responsibility we bear for ourselves and others, a burden that can feel like a cage. Modern psychology explores how self-sabotage and internal conflict imprison us. As sleep claims you, consider this: freedom is not given, it is wrestled from the shadows within. And when dawn arrives, will you still hold the keys or throw them away? 83. Your identity is a story, written by the voices you listen to. Have you ever wondered how much of who you are is truly your own? From childhood, the narratives others tell us, family, society, culture, shape the story we call ourselves. These voices can nurture or distort, liberate or confine. Your identity becomes a fragile manuscript, written and rewritten by invisible hands, often without your conscious permission. To find the real you, you must confront the echoes that have penned your existence, and question which parts belong to you and which were imposed. Philosopher Jean-Paul Sartre emphasized that existence precedes essence, meaning identity is not fixed, but constantly created. Psychology examines how external influences shape self-perception and personality development. As you slip into sleep, reflect on this. Whose voice are you truly hearing tonight? And when morning comes, will you read your own story or someone else's? 84. Your consciousness is a flickering candle in an endless darkness. Have you ever felt how fragile your awareness truly is? Consciousness shines like a small candle against the vast, impenetrable darkness of the unknown. It offers a fleeting glimpse of reality, yet is constantly threatened by the shadows of oblivion, sleep, madness, death. This fragile flame is all you have to anchor your existence, but it can be snuffed out without warning, leaving only silence and nothingness behind. Philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer described life as a brief flash of consciousness between two eternities of nothingness. Neuroscience continues to explore how the brain creates and sustains this delicate state of awareness. As you surrender to sleep, ponder this. Your candle may flicker tonight, but its light defines your reality. And when dawn breaks, will you still be the flame, or merely the darkness left behind? 85. The past is a haunting echo you can never truly escape. Have you ever tried to outrun memories only to find they shadow your every step? The past is not a distant place, but a ghost that lingers, shaping your thoughts, fears, and desires. No matter how far you travel, it whispers relentlessly, dragging you back into its cold embrace. This haunting presence blurs the line between who you were and who you are, trapping you in a loop of regret, longing, and unfinished stories. Philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche wrote, "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how, yet the why often hides in the unresolved past." Psychology reveals how trauma and memory shape identity and mental health. As you drift into sleep, reflect on this. Can you find peace with the ghost, or will it consume you whole? And when you awaken, will you carry the chains or finally break free? 86. Your thoughts are not yours, but echoes from a darker place. Have you ever felt that your mind is invaded by voices, urges, or ideas that don't quite belong to you? The mind is a battleground where conscious will struggles against hidden currents, ancestral memories, collective fears, and primal instincts lurking in the shadows. These echoes, often unacknowledged, shape your beliefs and actions, blurring the line between self and other, control and surrender. Understanding this reveals the unsettling truth. Much of what you think you own is borrowed from an ancient, darker source beyond your grasp. Carl Jung described this as the shadow, the unconscious part of the psyche we often refuse to face. Modern psychology explores the subconscious as a vast realm influencing behavior without awareness. As you fall asleep, contemplate this. Are your thoughts truly yours, or whispers from the abyss within? And when morning comes, will you claim them, or be claimed by them? 87. The mind's greatest trick is believing it's in control. Have you ever sensed that the sense of control you cherish is nothing but a facade? The mind constructs narratives of agency and mastery to comfort itself, yet beneath this illusion lies chaos, instinct, and unconscious impulses steering your every move. True control is rare, a mirage shimmering just beyond reach, while your decisions are often reactions shaped by unseen forces. This realization fractures the ego's illusion, leaving you vulnerable to the vast, indifferent mechanisms that govern existence. Philosopher David Hume questioned the idea of a unified self, arguing that the self is just a bundle of perceptions without true control. Psychology supports this, revealing how much of behavior is automatic and influenced by subconscious patterns. As sleep pulls you under, reflect. How much of your life is truly yours to command? And when you awake, will you still believe in control or embrace the chaos? 88. You are a prisoner of your own perception. Have you ever questioned if what you see, feel, or believe is anything more than a carefully constructed illusion? Your mind filters reality through a narrow lens shaped by biology, experience, and bias. This prison of perception confines you to a version of the world that may be vastly different from truth. Even your deepest convictions might be nothing but shadows on the walls of this mental cave. The unsettling possibility is that you are trapped, not by physical chains, but by the limits of your own senses and cognition. Philosopher Immanuel Kant argued that we can never know things in themselves, only our perceptions of them. Neuroscience confirms how perception is a subjective construction, often flawed and incomplete. As you drift into sleep, consider this: how much of your reality is real? And when you wake, will you break free or remain captive to illusion? 89. The quiet madness lurks just beneath your calm surface. Have you ever felt the faint tremor of chaos hidden beneath your composed exterior? Beneath the facade of sanity lies a fragile boundary, a thin veil separating order from the abyss of madness. Human history and psychology reveal that madness is not a distant otherness, but a shadow within us all, a restless storm waiting to break free. The mind's attempt to hold this chaos at bay is a daily battle, often unseen but ever present. Philosopher Michel Foucault explored how society defines and contains madness, questioning the thin line between sanity and insanity. Psychiatry exposes the delicate balance of the mind's architecture, susceptible to collapse under unseen pressures. As you surrender to sleep, ponder this: how close is the abyss to your waking thoughts? And when you awaken, will you still walk the line or fall into the void? 90. Even your deepest beliefs were given to you. What if the truths you cling to were never truly yours to begin with? From the moment you could think, your mind was filled by parents, schools, culture, language. You inherited worldviews like hand-me-down clothes, stitched together by those who came before you. The disturbing truth is that the foundations of your identity may be nothing more than echoes of other people's voices. You were programmed before you could choose. Philosopher John Stuart Mill warned that beliefs, if unexamined, become dead dogmas, passed down like heirlooms with no understanding. Modern cognitive science confirms how much of what we know is absorbed unconsciously, shaped long before reason has a say. As you fall asleep, ask yourself, have you ever truly believed anything on your own? And when you wake, will you still call those beliefs yours, or see them as whispers of a past not chosen? 91. Your identity is a story you keep rewriting. Who are you, beyond the memories, the name, the roles you've been told to play? Your identity feels solid, but it is a narrative stitched together by fragile recollections, distorted by time, emotion, and convenience. You are the unreliable narrator of your own life. Every time you recall a moment, you rewrite it slightly. Every reflection reshapes who you think you are. And slowly, the person you were becomes fiction, while the story you tell yourself becomes truth. Philosopher Paul Ricoeur spoke of the narrative self, the idea that identity is not a fixed essence, but a story in flux. Modern psychology agrees memory is reconstruction, not retrieval. You are editing yourself moment by moment. As sleep reaches in to cradle your mind, ask, if your story changes each time you remember, then who is the real you, if anyone ever was? 92. You are slowly unlearning how to be human. Have you noticed the quiet erosion of your connection to yourself and others? In a world obsessed with speed, distraction, and surface, the deep roots of human experience, empathy, presence, meaning are being severed. We are unlearning the art of truly being alive, replaced by fragmented attention and hollow interactions. This slow unraveling threatens not only individual souls, but the fabric of society itself. Philosopher Heidegger warned that modern technology alienates us from being, reducing life to mere utility and function. Psychologists reveal how digital saturation rewires the brain, dulling emotional depth and resilience. As sleep invites you to rest, consider, what part of your humanity slips away each day? And when you awaken, will you fight to reclaim it or surrender to oblivion? 93. You carry the weight of collective trauma in your mind. Have you ever felt an inexplicable heaviness, as if the pain of generations past lives within you? Human consciousness is not isolated. It carries the scars, fears, and wounds of ancestors, passed down through culture, stories, and even biology. This unseen burden shapes your thoughts, emotions, and behaviors, often without your awareness. The ghosts of history whisper in your mind, coloring the very fabric of your experience. Philosopher Walter Benjamin described history as a chain of catastrophes, ever influencing the present. Epigenetics now shows how trauma can imprint on DNA, haunting descendants across time. As sleep envelops you, ask yourself, how much of your pain belongs only to you? And when you awaken, will you recognize these inherited shadows, or remain their prisoner? 94. The mind's true prison is forgetting who you are. What if the deepest loss is not death, but the slow erasure of yourself? Memory shapes identity, but as time fractures your recollections, the sense of I begins to unravel. You become a stranger to your own story. Faces fade, names vanish, moments dissolve. This quiet amnesia is a prison from which there is no escape, a fading light swallowed by the dark. Philosopher Søren Kierkegaard mused on despair as a sickness of forgetting the self. Neurology confirms how diseases like Alzheimer's erode the very essence of being. As you drift into sleep, contemplate. What remains of you when memory slips away? And when you wake, will you still recognize your own face in the mirror? 95. Your thoughts are not your own, they are ancient echoes. Have you ever wondered if the voice in your head is truly yours, or something older, something you inherited? Our minds are shaped by millennia of evolution, culture, and collective unconscious. The ideas, fears, and desires that flood your consciousness are not fresh creations, but echoes passed down through countless generations. In this sense, you are less an individual and more a vessel for ancient patterns beyond your control. Carl Jung called this the collective unconscious, a repository of archetypes shared by all humanity. Neuroscience shows how much of our thinking is automatic, shaped by inherited neural pathways. As sleep wraps around you, consider, whose voice are you really hearing? And when you awaken, will you claim it as your own, or surrender to the shadows of the past? 96. The mind is a battlefield of hidden manipulations. Do you realize how often your thoughts and feelings are not your own, but carefully engineered by unseen forces? Throughout history, rulers, advertisers, and ideologues have exploited psychological weaknesses to control masses, subtly bending perception, belief, and desire. Your sense of free will is constantly under siege by manipulation tactics designed to hijack your mind without your awareness. Philosopher Michel Foucault explored how power operates through control of knowledge and discourse. Modern psychology reveals countless cognitive biases and tricks that shape your decisions against your best interests. As sleep draws near, ask yourself, how many of your choices were truly yours? And when you awaken, will you break free or remain a pawn in a silent war? 97. Your mind is a labyrinth, built by fear and desire. Have you ever felt trapped inside your own thoughts, wandering endless corridors with no exit? The human mind is a complex maze, constructed by the twin architects of fear and desire. These primal forces shape every decision, memory, and dream, often leading you deeper into confusion and self-deception. Escaping this labyrinth is not a matter of logic, but of confronting the shadows within. Philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche described the psyche as a battleground where instincts clash and meanings are forged. Psychology teaches that unresolved fears and unfulfilled desires create mental patterns that imprison you in cycles of suffering. As sleep gently pulls you under, ask, can you find the door out of your own mind? And when you awaken, will you face the darkness or hide forever in the maze? 98. Your reality is a carefully constructed illusion. What if everything you perceive, the world, yourself, your memories, is nothing but an elaborate deception? From childhood, you build a fragile mental model of reality, stitched together by sensory input and social conditioning. Yet this construction is riddled with gaps, biases, and contradictions, masking the true chaos beneath. The boundary between what is real and what is imagined blurs until they become indistinguishable. Philosopher Immanuel Kant argued that we never know things in themselves, only our perception of them. Modern cognitive science shows how the brain fabricates memories and beliefs to maintain coherence. As you drift into sleep, consider, how much of your world is illusion? And when you awaken, will you dare to see beyond the veil or cling to comforting lies? 99. You are both the prisoner and the warden of your mind. Have you ever felt trapped, yet somehow also complicit in your own captivity? The human mind can be both a cage and its own guard, imprisoning itself in cycles of thought, fear, and belief. You create the bars through your doubts, regrets, and anxieties, and then stand watch to ensure you never leave. This paradox reveals the cruelest form of confinement, self-imprisonment under the illusion of control. Philosopher Jean-Paul Sartre said, "Hell is other people, but often hell is within ourselves." Psychology describes how cognitive patterns and defense mechanisms reinforce mental imprisonment. As sleep pulls you deeper, ask yourself, will you unlock your cell tonight? Or will you remain the silent warden of your own suffering? 100. In the end, you will fade into the silence of oblivion. What awaits you beyond the final breath is the most unsettling truth: absolute nothingness. No matter how loud your thoughts, how vivid your memories, or how deep your emotions, death reduces all to silence. The self dissolves into void, and all the stories you told yourself become meaningless whispers lost in the dark. This is the ultimate psychological trick history plays on us, promising meaning in a life destined to vanish without trace. Philosopher Martin Heidegger called this being toward death. the ever-present shadow that defines existence. Existentialists like Camus confronted the absurdity of life's fleeting meaning against the vast indifference of the cosmos. As sleep finally claims you, remember, every moment lived is a defiance of the eternal silence. But when you awaken, what will remain of your consciousness, if anything at all?